Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hello, welcome to TFYLP, episode 419. We are live tonight, February 22nd. I'm Lucas, and I am joined by Michael.
What's up?
Christian.
Hello.
And Phil.
Good evening.
So Phil, do you have another funny story to tell us tonight, or
to start off this week? No, there's no little sketch or anything. Just we can all just look at Christian wrestling his cat.
There you go.
She's fine.
Okay.
So tonight's topic was decided to do one on collecting fatigue, because I feel like we've gotten so much stuff like just over the last couple months. And I was kind of curious what you guys thought about that. And then also just kind of the history of, like, have you felt, fatigue in the past? What did you do about it? How did you combat it? All that type of thing. So
I'm feeling it. I don't know if I've ever felt it before, at least not to this extent, but I'm feeling it. It's I got a lot of different thoughts on this. It's sort of rhymes and reasons as to why. Certainly the amount of stuff, but I also feel like the sort of the order in which all this stuff kind of happens is like you get an announcement, and nowadays these announcements are so spread out that it's like there's an announcement almost every week, depending upon what toy lines you're collecting. Like there was a NECA Ninja Turtle Loot Crate announcement today, and some of my buddies who are doing the Mezco stuff, they had a bunch of Mezco announcements today. So you get kind of psyched for the announcement. Sometimes that announcement's immediately followed by a pre-order, and then you wait 3-4 months before you actually get the toy in hand. And sometimes you've seen reviews for a month or two before you get the toy. You're either really excited and the toy kind of, underwhelms you, or you get the toy and it's like, all right, this is neat, but now I've seen 3 other pre-orders. I'm excited for that. And so the thing I have in my hand isn't as entertaining anymore. And it's like you're already sort of thinking about that next thing. And then you do that over 3 or 4 different toy lines, and it's just like, wow, now I got like 3 piles of toys that I have yet to open, and not sure. I just got to buckle down and either decide to sell some of the stuff because I haven't opened it for a year, or just, sit down and, clean up my toy area and open a bunch of stuff. So yeah, that's me at this point in time with my collecting. It's still fun, but not as fun as it has been in the past.
yeah, you bring up a lot of good points, Phil. Like, I kind of feel like that too, where I almost feel like the anticipation of, getting that figure in hand, like where you go through the whole thing where, first it's a leak, and then it's a reveal by, Hasbro, whoever the official channel may be, right? Then it's a pre-order, and then like you see somebody manages to get the thing in hand and, put up a video or pictures or just whatever it may be, right? And then it's like almost by the time you get it, you're almost like, okay, well, cool, I guess I'll go put it on my shelf.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, not always.
It's
It's not always like that. Like, I mean, I think that there's definitely certain ones that, I feel like that over others. Like, I definitely felt like, and I know Michael probably will, feel the exact opposite of me, where the Kingdom stuff has not, like, excited me as much as like the Studio Series 86 stuff. So it's like some of the things like, the Cheetor and all that, like it just was sitting in a box for like a month or so because I got all this other stuff that I wanted to open first.
Yeah, no, that stuff I'm like, I don't care if I can get it for $2 cheaper over here. I'll buy it over here if I can get it now and open it now.
Christian and I were just doing that today on a couple new figures. I think Dinobot and Inferno earlier today we're in at Toy Dojo, and we're like, do we really want to go ahead and spend the extra money to get them now versus waiting? Because I think we got them on sale at Amazon. Is that right?
Yeah, they're like $25.99 or $24.99 over at Amazon. Or they were.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they still are.
Yeah, I think my Dinobot pre-order is the same. Like I pre-ordered it on Amazon, and it was popped up a few places, but they sold out before I could get to it.
Yeah, I think I got him on sale from Target, either Target or Amazon. I've got a lot of the second wave of Kingdoms on sale. If hopefully those pre-orders come through as opposed to some earlier ones.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know about you guys, but like I've been pre-ordering from like multiple places, and so I almost feel like it's like I have to keep this whole tracking spreadsheet, and it almost happened to me again today where Pulse, like I forgot to cancel like one figure from my Pulse stuff that I like already picked up other places.
Yeah, I've been in that same boat a bit. It's actually sort of because on the topic of the whole fatigue thing, I actually stopped collecting. Around the same time I left the show, years back, I had stopped collecting basically because I was feeling that fatigue then. It was during Titan Returns, and now there's like even more product. But that's when I sort of burnt out, and then I sort of went on hiatus for a little bit. Sort of packed up a lot of stuff, just kept the Beast Wars stuff behind me. And then I've sort of, in the last few years, really started slowly getting back in. The Masterpiece started leading me back in. Kingdom obviously came out, and now I have to buy mainline stuff again. But yeah, so I don't really like envy you guys who keep up with all the lines, because I remember doing it, and it was crazy. Like I felt like it was a chore to start getting that stuff and to keep up with that stuff. But with Kingdom, I have sort of fallen back into that where I have my safety pre-order here, but then I'm going over here and buying it as stuff is popping up, or stuff it's cheaper over here and it's in stock, and then I have to remember, oh yeah, I better go cancel over there, or else I'm going to accidentally get two of these.
Now, I will say that in the past, like when there weren't as many Transformers coming out, like I would start filling my, like it'd be like, oh, I haven't gotten any stuff for a while. And so then like I would be tempted by like some Marvel Legends or something like that. And so that's where I kind of feel like the pace that we have now has been good, because that I haven't been tempted to get, other things that are not necessarily like what the focus of my collection is.
Yeah, outside of Transformers, I'm collecting Marvel Legends, NECA Aliens and Predator, NECA Ninja Turtles, Hasbro G.I. Joe, Star Wars Black Series. So there's like, and I don't know if I said Transformers or Marvel Legends in that. I already lost track. But it's like there's a good 5, 6, 7 toy lines that I'm collecting, of which Transformers there are kind of 3 lines within that I'm collecting. Now the Studio Series 86, the main line, and then MPs, and maybe you throw in a fourth of third-party products that come in there. So it's a lot.
Because how many concurrent lines are running right now in the Transformers? 5? Yeah, I was thinking something around there.
So what would you say are those 5?
War for Cybertron, Masterpiece, Studio Series, Cyberverse, and BotBots.
Are BotBots still coming out? Like, I feel
Heck
like it's
yeah,
been a
they
while
are.
since I've seen them.
Yeah.
It has been a while since you've seen them, but season 6 is coming, and also there's a TV show coming. So don't worry, they're coming.
Yeah, because Rescue Bots Academy is over now.
Yeah, did that end?
It did.
Oh,
It
there might be a
did.
6th one. Okay, it's over for real though.
Well,
I think
the
Rescue Bots
show
are
is
still on the
done.
shelf, though.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
they
there you
might
go,
still be on
6.
the shelf. Yeah. And then again, do you want to call it 7th when you throw in third party? When you throw in like just all of the assorted third party?
You could.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to collect right now. And if
Yeah.
you're if you're a complete, I guess so. If you steer away from the third party, then you have no worries there. But if you're like a completionist, like the Ricks and the Peters of this world, man, I don't know. Like, I don't know how you keep up with it. It's
Nick.
yeah, Nick. It's crazy. There's so much. There's so much coming out. I mean, I don't shy away from Transformers news and stuff like that, but I don't even think I know everything that's coming out right now. Right? It's like I go to the store and I see something and I'm like, I didn't even know that existed. That's cool. I mean, obviously I don't stay on top of it as much as most people probably do, but I still have a few Transformers things on my Facebook that keep me posted on that sort of thing.
And Paul had even posted, like, what's the line at, I think it's at Target, that there's little $10 like figures.
Oh, it starts with Z, Zentoki or something.
And then they're doing pops of Transformers now too. So.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and the retroaction thing.
Oh yeah, and Super 7's coming out with stuff.
Yeah.
And Buzzworthy, if you want to count that.
And the Headmasters from Walmart.
Yeah, I guess you could sort of.
Oh, and the Red series, we forgot about that. You forgot.
I
would count that as
oh, jeez, forgot about that one.
Too.
Oh goodness. Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff to keep up with.
Yeah.
Like, and you have 4 people here who have like just loads of toys behind them in each image, and we forgot about stuff that's coming out right now.
Yeah,
I don't know how completionists work. Like, I gave up on that when I was like 17.
I gave up on it when I was like 14, 15. After my second BotCon, I was like, well, it's just impractical to want to get everything. Look, I'm here at BotCon. Look at how much there is. This is impossible for one person to do. And of course, Nick and Peter are out there trying to prove me wrong.
I was going to say, some are making the old college try. I think you need lots of bins and lots of storage space. So.
And you just need to be kind of unemotional, because it's just like you get product X, like out of all those different lines, maybe you only like the toys coming out in 3 of them. And it's just like you get it, you look at it, it's neat, it goes into a bin, and then that's it. I mean, again, for a lot of us, it goes on a shelf, and maybe we interact with it a little bit more after that. But if you're just collecting everything, then yeah, how much time do you spend on any of it?
Yeah, I don't know. We probably should have had one of those guys on here tonight. They could help us.
They all declined. They said they were too fatigued.
Yeah.
So my fatigue,
or they were just laughing at us because, like, you're fatigued. Like, no, don't even start.
yeah, they're like amateurs over there talking about fatigue.
They're like marathon runners. Like, oh, you got tired from doing a 5K, huh?
Right.
So the most fatigued I've ever been probably happened in December of last year, so just a couple months ago. I started keeping track of my purchases last year, and everyone watching probably knows this, and everyone knows I will recommend to not do that because it will make you sad.
Yeah.
But if you guys remember in December, like, stuff kept coming out. Like, just the first wave of Kingdom came out, the last couple things from Earthrise came out, the restock of the Scorponok came in. what else came out? The Chrome Dome and Rewind for MC came in. There was just so many things. And I felt like I was in the ocean. And you know how waves keep crashing on you, and you can like jump over the first two, and it's fun. Like, yay, jump over the wave, yay, it's fun. But then waves keep hitting you and pounding you, and it's like, okay, I kind of have to give up. It's just I'm drowning, and then I quit doing that. It was fine. I think what the key is for me, at least at this moment in my life, is keeping myself within my budget. Because now I really am looking forward to the few things that I get in my allotted budget per month. It hasn't affected me too terribly yet. It's only been 2 months. But it's better. Like I said, I look forward to more things. And that's just how I'm coping with it. But Phil, like you said, when so many things are coming in, you have the announcement, you have the reveal, you have the pre-order, you have the thing arrives, it feels like you've spent so much time with each item already before it even gets to your door that you're already moving on to the next thing. And I've definitely felt that. I'm trying to be better about it.
And I'm not even one of those guys that's in it for the quote unquote hunt. I mean, there's a lot of guys, especially in like my local Facebook group, that like they don't buy on Amazon, they don't buy from the Hasbro Pulse. They're like, oh no, the hunt is what I'm in for. I'm like, I got 2 kids. I like send that thing to my doorstep so I don't have to worry about hunting it. And I don't want to pay for the gas. I don't have the time. COVID thrown in there too. It's like, no, for folks that are trying to hunt this stuff, I mean, I guess that's an adrenaline hit that you get when you find something on the shelf for the first time. Mm-hmm. I've had that a few times in the last year. It's been, like the Walmart Netflix stuff. I found that. It was one of the first people to find that, and that was, kind of a neat thing. But it just, it doesn't. It's not enough. And then again, like you end up with I think there are some cool toys. Like I'm just looking over, some of my piles over here of toys that I got. Like, wow, these are cool toys, and it's just like, runabout and run amok. They're cool toys that I've spent like 10, 15 minutes with, and now they're in a pile, and I haven't even got them on a display shelf yet. So yeah, I probably should start to pare down what I'm doing, both in maybe the amount of lines I'm collecting and all of this. But it's weird with the sort of brain chemicals of when you get excited for something and how long that excitement lasts.
Sometimes you're people who are in it for the hunt. Even if you're hunting online, it can be difficult. I remember just most recently, I don't collect a lot of Black Series, but I collect some Black Series. And getting that Walmart Clone Wars wave was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so frustrated that I haven't even really taken a chance to enjoy the Ahsoka I ended up with, because I pre-ordered her like 3 times and 2 of them came through when I didn't want them to. And I had stalked out of Walmart when they said they were going to put them out. I got the number of the guy in the toy section to call me. I gave him my number. I got his number, and none of it ever panned out. And then I finally got one delivered in the midst of everything else. And I was just like, well, I don't care anymore because I've already had to move on from the stress of trying to get it.
Yeah.
And that's not fair.
No. And I don't know if that's part of it, is like how much more stressful some of this collecting has been in 2020 with all these exclusives, with are you online at the right time? And I'm fortunate that I've got a job, especially during COVID, where I'm working from home. Normally my job involves in sitting down and meeting face to face with clients. That's not happening. Everything's over the phone. So like I'll be sitting there talking to a client, and then, with my hand on my cell phone, just like, all right, got this pre-order in, watching like the text messages coming in from my friends of like, all right, so-and-so is live now. Like, all right, jump on and grab that pre-order as I'm on a conference call or having a meeting with the client. And I can do that. I'm fortunate, but there's times where it's, you block off the calendar so you can be on a pre-order right at the time when it comes on. And that's just, it's not as, it's both easier and sometimes more stressful to get some of these toys than it has been in the past as well.
Definitely. Overall, though, I have collected since 2004, like full time, without any significant gap. I never had to take a break. I never had to take a hiatus. even through college when I had a lot less money to spend on toys, I was fortunate that it was in the movie years and stuff was cheaper because Walmart wanted to undercut everybody. So I was able to still pick up stuff here and there and work part-time jobs and pay for a couple figures that way. But no significant gaps. I've never been fatigued enough to say, all right, I need to take a break and walk away. I guess I'm fortunate in that regard because I always find something to love. There may be periods where I focus more on what I have rather than what I'm getting. Like right now, the first waves of Kingdom and Studio Series came out. We got a little bit of gap until the next stuff. So it's nice to spend some time with some old favorites. But in general, yeah, I don't get fatigued in a way that makes me want to walk away.
I feel like a lot of times what I feel like is when I get a lot of stuff in and I'm like, oh crap, where am I going to put all this stuff? Like I already, my shelves are already full, and whatever. And so that's where I kind of feel like, and so then I try to sell some stuff and whatever, just to kind of feel better about, or like you said, like where you go over your budget, things like that too, because so many things dropped at once.
Well, and I was gonna, because you brought up selling, and I was thinking about that. Have you all, do you guys practice like purging and rotating out? Like if Optimus Prime has had, we've had a G1 Prime since Classics, like one every year. Do you rotate out once you get one that you like better than the previous one, or do you have like all of them from Classics, or like? How do you guys address that? Because I think when I burnt out in Titan Returns, it was sort of because we hit a point where here was Titan Returns, and here were some new characters, but here were a bunch of characters I already had a bunch of figures for, and I was like, I'm so tired of buying all these same characters. Like I'm just tired, and it sort of just hit me, and I was just like, you know what? And then I bought like the first wave of the Titan Returns Deluxes, and I was like, I don't like these. I think I'm gonna take a break. I think I'm done for a little bit. And so that's where I sort of fell off for a little while, and then it was like sort of like Masterpiece really started getting me back in, and pulling me back into like the interest in the collection and the fandom. But yeah, it was sort of. And I think it's because I kind of dread the sell-off. I've always found that part to be sort of, I got to deal with unknown variables and people, and it's sort of scary, and I got to make sure I ship it, and I don't want anyone to try to screw me over, and I'm just like, I don't want to deal with this. This isn't very fun, which is usually I end up doing like a massive sell-off and just like someone come and take it from me for cheap. Because I don't want it anymore.
I sell all my stuff to Nick that way.
Yeah.
I've done two big boxes to him this year already. Because it's like you said, I don't want to have to deal with a ton of individual people on that. I'll deal with a couple for some higher value items so I can get what they're worth out of it. But in general, I'm happy to let Nick do that. I will pay that consignment fee.
Yeah, most of the time, like the mainline figures and cheaper ones and things like that, like I just I catalog them all and then like will ship them off to somebody or whatever. But a lot of the like more expensive stuff, like whenever I've sold it, I mean I've had a lot of success selling it in the groups and sold on eBay, sold at conventions, all that type of thing too. I mean those are all like much easier, like it feels more worth it when you're selling it, because if you sell $100 piece, versus selling something for like $5 or $10 or whatever, it just does not feel worth it.
And sometimes you sell stuff to me only to buy it back a year later.
I've done that multiple times.
But Michael, to answer your original question about what do you do with those duplicate characters that we keep getting, for me it's a mix of both. Classic Optimus Prime will always stay in my collection because that was the first classic Optimus Prime. It was the first Optimus Prime that I really gravitated to, the first G1 Prime. My favorite one was Cybertron at the time, but that's neither here nor there. I am selling Power of the Primes, but I'm keeping the Combiner Wars ones for now because they make up the torsos. I've kept Earthrise, but I got rid of Siege because I did not like that one. So it's a mix of both. You sell the ones that you think don't fit anymore. You keep the ones that do.
I think, Michael, to your point too, the acceleration of that just occurred with Earthrise and Siege has made me feel burned. Like I've got Siege Ratchet sitting on my IDW shelf, and I've got the Paragon Medic and Ratchet set from Amazon that I haven't opened. And I'm like, well, do I want it? Like, I don't. The Paragon Medic is like, all right, kind of neat. I don't know if it'll stay on my shelf long. And then do I want that Ratchet, or am I happy with the Siege Ratchet? I've already got multiple Ironhides, multiple Prowls. The Dotsons, the Seekers. I mean, the Seekers I dig a lot, so I don't feel as bad about those. But just the Primes, the Megatrons. It's just like that. Within 6 months that we got some of those toys duplicated.
Well, that's the thing is I feel like that before, whenever like a new character would come out or whatever, one, the look of it was a lot different than the prior one that came out. And two, like there was a time gap in between those where it might be several years where you kind of appreciate some of the new engineering that came with it. Because after so many years, it's like they can do new things and whatnot, kind of reinvent the wheel. But yeah, like that's where I kind of really felt it with this like Siege to Earthrise. Like there's
Siege to Earthrise,
so
and add
many
Netflix
characters
to that too.
Yeah, and that was what like Netflix. I finally had to stop being a completionist with this stuff with Netflix because I was like, I can't do it anymore. I can't get a third version of whatever XYZ
Megatron.
It's like Megatron or whoever. But yeah, God, and it just especially since like several of them, like that Megatron, like the engineering is pretty much the exact same. Like they reshelled them, but like it's the same transformation and whatnot. So it's I feel like that's where it's real. Like the fact that we have a high volume and the fact that we're like getting the same figures like over and over again. Whereas like I kind of feel like if they would do some of the other ones that we haven't seen in a while, I would be more excited with that. Like if they space the Megatron out, like I mean, I'm expecting there's going to be another Megatron at some point. You know what I mean? Like if it's a year or two down the line, but like it's just come on, man. Like it's like they almost were here at the same time, like with some of those figures.
I mean that Megatron. If you say Siege and Earthrise are essentially kind of the same toy. Because the engineering is pretty much identical. They're very same alt mode. Obviously some differences. You have 5 of those Megatrons. You had 3 Sieges and 2 Earthrises, and 2 of the Sieges were we had 6 because you had the regular release Siege, the Netflix Siege. The G2 kind of green camo Siege. Then you had the video game
cell shaded one.
The
cell shaded one. Yeah,
right.
Those 4 of them.
Right. So there's 4 of those.
Earthrise and the other G2.
Megatron and G2. Yeah. And so it's like you've got 6 of that mold
within 18 months.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna feel a little bit burnout, and honestly, like. I'm kind of pissed because the last of those Megatrons is the one that I kind of wish I had, the Netflix one. At least the last of the Siege ones. The Netflix one looks the best in my opinion, but that was the last one to come out. And I got 2 of the others. I didn't buy all the other Megatrons that came before that, but it's just you feel like there's a little bit of I don't know if bait and switch is the right phrase for this kind of thing, but some of the practices that has.
With characters like Smokescreen, that was kind of the tail end of Siege, and then 2 months later at Toy Fair, they're like, "Hey, we're getting Smokescreen, and he's the Earth mode that you always wanted. Surprise!" Yeah. It's like I just bought this thing, and this one's way better.
Yeah.
And what the worst one of the reshells is going to be that Ultra Magnus coming out. Like, like the vehicle mode just looks like not great. Like it seems like it is a detriment to the figure that they're like reusing, the mold and reshelling it rather than just doing a new Ultra Magnus.
And again, what are they going to do for Studio Series 86 for Ultra Magnus? Is it going to be a whole new toy, or are they going to reshell that guy again?
Nothing. It'll be the Kingdom one. That's it. Same with Cyclonus.
Yeah, I feel like those two won't get 86 figures.
Yeah.
Or if they do, they'll wait a few years or something like that. But I don't think they have a few years for the 86 line, really. Right.
Yeah. We could get a Spring or maybe some sort of exclusive since he was in Siege.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Siege. You've got Springer. You've got RC. They're also part of that 86 movie lineup that have been in other lines very recently.
Yeah, the cross-pollination there, I think, is... Lucas, didn't we hear that it's because the 86 dudes were originally part of Earthrise or Kingdom or something, and they got shuffled over?
I think, I'm sure that's part of it.
There's some sort of weirdness there.
Yeah, I'm sure part of that, too, is the fact that the, Transformers movie has been pushed back as well. So... And who knows? We're kind of speculating on this versus, and there's some rumors and all that type of thing too as to what actually happened. But
on that point, I think that's another reason why I'm feeling fatigued right now is that I don't feel like there's any really incentivizing fiction. I'm not reading the current comic book. I've tried it. I didn't enjoy it. Cyberverse is done. The Netflix cartoon is meh. And so I'm just like, there's nothing that's out there that's like, man, I want to go buy this toy. The Cyberverse cartoon did that a little bit for me, but I know we're going to get more from that, but I'm sort of like, all right, that was done. Do I love these characters enough to hold on to those toys, or am I just going to sell all those deluxes that I bought? They're kind of, they look decent in robot mode. The vehicle modes are, they're not as stylized as animated that they look so unique. But yeah, there's no fiction that's really out there right now that's getting my Transformers juices really flowing.
That's been really tough.
Yeah, they've been banking on nostalgia for a long time, and I feel like at this point it's just sort of like we kind of need something.
Yeah.
And like you said, the Netflix show is there, but it's like it's not even pushing the current toys, right?
But it is it's such a.
That's those Netflix
tie-in.
figures.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pushing the Netflix figures, I suppose, but they had to repackage those toys, right? It's not really pushing the Siege toys. It's not really pushing the Earthrise toys.
But it's pushing the Earthrise. I mean, to me, I think it is. This is the closest I think we've ever had of the animation model and the toy being identical, because they took the toy to make the animation model to the point that Optimus Prime even has the little pegs on them for where you put on the battle damage.
Oh man, Cybertron. They all had the key slots.
Well, yes, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. Cybertron. You're absolutely right on that. So, but
there's media out there. That's the thing is we're talking about all this media that is there, and we haven't even talked about the Cyberverse cartoon and all that too. But it's all of it just does not hit the way some of the other stuff has.
And
that's the thing that's different.
Netflix series really stings to me because it was marketed as it's the show for the fans. It's dark and it's for a more adult audience. Like, oh man, we've been waiting for this forever, and then it hits and it's just bad.
Well, and that's one of those things too, where Netflix was the thing where Voltron's on Netflix, and I'm trying to think of some of the other good cartoons that have been out on Netflix, She-Ra has people that like it as well, and then this hits and you're like, oh yeah,
it definitely feels like they went with the cheapest, safest bet to maximize, we don't want to invest too hard on this, but we want to sell you some toys. Right?
Yeah.
It's better than Prime War stuff. I mean, miles and miles and miles above that.
Yeah,
but that's such a low bar.
But it's it's technically the same team, I believe. That's
Half
that's
and
doing
half.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, it's
Getting
not
Polygon
fun.
was good. That was a good move.
What's that?
Polygon Pictures is the animation studio. That was a good
Okay.
move to get them.
But I sort of feel like because they got that animation, I feel like they spent probably some money on that, and so things just feel very stiff. It's like, yeah, we got we got this high end animation studio. We just can't pay them to make these guys move very much. So Skylynx is going to spend an episode just sort of standing there talking to Prime versus being a cool space dragon robot. You know, and that's just sort of the sentiment.
Polygon Pictures also animated Transformers Prime back in the day. That's what they're capable of.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was beautiful.
Yeah.
But I think part of it is the story as well, and that's the thing. It seems like they don't necessarily need to produce like a really engaging, show. Like they just probably want to do something that's kind of middle of the road that appeals to everyone and all that type of thing too. So.
Yeah, their goal isn't to make good media. Their goal is to make media.
Yeah.
It exists.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of, and it kind of drives me nuts as a fan of this sort of stuff because it hits you a little bit where a character says a line, and it's like he said that line in the '86 movie. Oh my goodness! And so, like, part of you is like, oh, nostalgia, and another part of you is like, but he's done that already. Can we do something new? It's like it always tears at me a little bit on the inside, where it's and if they get too carried away with just making references to past stuff, it just starts to sort of grain on you. And I feel like that's sort of where the Netflix show hit, especially in the first season. I feel like the second season maybe a little less, but
yeah, I mean, I think in the last couple of years, the media that I've enjoyed the most for Transformers has been like season 3 of Cyberverse. Obviously, the Bumblebee movie was a lot of fun, but both of those feel like so much in the rearview mirror right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like the thing that we have to look forward to in terms of new Transformers media is more Netflix shows. Supposedly there's going to be more Cyberverse, but I haven't seen anything yet. Who knows what coronavirus has done to gum up those works. And then the next Transformers movie that, again, to me, like anything coming from Hollywood right now, it's just like, I'll believe it when I see a trailer. Until I see a trailer, it's all just, or seeing photos from, the shoot. Until then, it's just like, all right, this is, anyone can put together a director and attach a writer and, put out a press release. It's not real until, you're actually shooting some stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and the comics could come back. Maybe that Beast Wars book will be good. I read the first issue and did not enjoy it at all. But, maybe that'll come around.
Yeah.
But hoping for one book, having written off how many are they running right now? 3 others? That's not a good sign.
I think some of the like shorter run books have been good. Like I enjoyed the Transformers Terminator one, like that crossover. I think the Transformers 84, like that miniseries that they did wasn't bad.
That one was incredible.
Yeah.
Why can't all the writing be like that?
Right. Well,
unfortunately, put that into their main book.
Yeah.
They won't do it.
I mean, it took a long time for the last run of it to really sort of pick up steam, though, right? No one particularly is in love with Devastation or Escalation, those first books.
Right.
It's true. That's true.
It took a while before everyone sort of fell in love with it. So.
Because it took a better writing team, creative team.
Yeah.
And so that was something that IDW kept kind of churning through it, and I don't know the status of a lot of IDW books right now. I know Turtles fans are pretty excited about some of the stuff they're doing with the Turtles books, but beyond that, I don't feel like I hear a lot of buzz in the comic book collecting world for IDW comics all that much, and I don't hear it from from the non-comic book world, the toy collecting world either, for the toy properties that they're doing books for. So I feel like it's sort of, I feel like there's a lot of stuff that IDW is putting out that it's like, we can sell so many issues because it's just this property, and people will buy this book because it's the property, and the writing and art don't have to be great. We don't have to pay a big name artist or writer, even a middle name artist or writer, and we can sell a lot of copies of this.
And that's the thing is like IDW, honestly, like even it's at its peak was not selling that much. Like,
No.
you know, they've got like a certain amount that they sell, like, you know, high and low, and then, you know, yeah, they probably there's probably some truth to that they're just like, you know what, like, we're gonna sell X number of copies either way, so, you know, whatever, like, let's just give it to the new guys. And, you know, same thing with some of these cartoons as well, where they're just like, you know, whatever, we'll cheap out on some of this budget. We're not going to like go all out on this because we don't need to. We're going to sell, because all their toys sell out either way. So it's like, what does it matter, you know?
Yes, it's almost like they're like the Pittsburgh Pirates of comic book companies. You know, once they get like a talent that actually kind of gets to be good and big name, it's like, shoot, we can't really afford them anymore. Let them go off to do work for Marvel or DC or, you know, who knows what else. But it's like, all right, they've written themselves out of being in our price range.
Apparently, Paul does not like our sidebar talk here.
Yeah, but it all started because it's easier to get burned out when there's no media driving the engagement. And I guess there is media, but it's not hitting with at least the four of us.
Yeah, and it's not very in the spotlight. I mean, Cyberverse was a YouTube show, and War for Cybertron's on Netflix. It's like, which I guess Netflix is as mainstream as mainstream gets nowadays, but it still feels like it's sort of hidden away. It doesn't feel like any of that lore is in your face. And when you're just collecting to collect because it's a new toy that's coming out, it just makes it harder to stay focused on it. You have to keep rerunning. At the end of the day, you have to keep rerunning your popular characters because there's nothing to build up less popular characters. Like they can't do, I don't know, think of a G1 character off the top of your head that has almost no fiction behind him whatsoever. Like they're gonna do those things sporadically, maybe. But they're not gonna like throw them out there in like droves. Like they're gonna keep giving us Bumblebee and Optimus because they know that people know Optimus and Bumblebee.
I mean, I think, again, like, it's just kind of part of the way everything is nowadays versus before. Like, in the 80s, you only had a limited amount of channels that you could play this stuff on. And so there's only a limited amount of properties and whatever. Whereas now, like, you have a million things on Netflix and Disney Plus and, you know, Hulu and just whatever, you know, the Cartoon Network and yada 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 down the list. And so that's the thing, like, I feel like there's so many things that it's just like it's gonna be the flavor of the month. And so it's the same thing with these toys and whatnot, like they just want to churn stuff out and keep churning it, both with media and with toys, both, because like you're just gonna pick up, you know, whatever the next thing is. And
yeah, I mean, I've seen similar things happen with other pop culture properties, like in comic books. You know, DC does a bunch of Batman and Superman books because those sell. You know, even books like Teen Titans, which is pretty recognizable in terms of, you know, the character and you know, the name of the team. That book gets canceled and you know, started with a new number one all the darn time because it's not Batman, it's not Superman, it's not Wonder Woman or the Flash. And, you know, it got to the point where I've got my stack of comic books upstairs that's probably just as obscene as my toys that I haven't opened up, because it's just like they were doing 2 Batman books a month. Like I just couldn't keep up with it. And, you get a writer in there that you're not a big fan of, so you're kind of not reading the book for a little bit. You've got to tell your your comic shop to take it off your pull list. And it's just like there is just so much that's out there that I think the formula that a lot of these pop culture companies are using is that we have a core group of fans. They're going to buy almost everything we put out. So we're going to buy the things that they buy until we hit a saturation point. And it sounds like there is a saturation point that is happening with more of the fan base than than what normally happens.
I don't know. I am curious though. At what point do we actually hit our saturation point? Because it's like I'm still going. I'm still on this whole cycle. I don't necessarily know that I'm going to. I don't know at what point I'm going to get off.
I think we're as a fandom in Transformers lucky right now that we're kind of at the right replacement rate, because for every one of us that burns out, we're still gaining new people all the time. I mean, take a look at the recent reissues of the Headmasters or the reissue of Combiner Wars Devastator. Those came out because there's a demand. There's fans that are coming in now that didn't have access to those items back then because they weren't collecting them. And in the years since, they've become very popular. And so they're giving the new fans a chance to get that stuff. I think that's great. We had an episode on exclusives that way about 2 weeks ago. Same kind of deal there. There's always new people coming in right now, which is still good. That's always a good thing. But for those of us who've been here for a while, it's kind of tough to see the same dudes all the time.
I need a Transformers version of. We got this a little bit a few years ago. We got Drift, we got Windblade, we got some new blood in there. Cyberverse gave us some new characters as well that they just sort of, brushed those aside. Transformers Animated gave us new characters or definitely new takes on the characters, and that felt fun. It felt fresh. It breathed some life into it, and I don't feel like that life has been there. Even in the Bumblebee movie, it was a very limited cast of Transformers characters in that, so you didn't feel like the characters that you grew up with had a new spin or new take to them. More Than Meets the Eye gave a lot of those characters a new take and a new spin. I mean, here's Megatron as an Autobot. Like, that gets you psyched and makes you want to go out and, as soon as MMC does that toy, it's like, yeah, I'm pre-ordering that thing because it's awesome. Even the lousy Combiner Wars Megatron, I never wanted that toy, but it was kind of tempting because you could do the little, that was the one you could do the Autobot chest symbol on, right? Mm-hmm. So there was like, oh man, like I don't want that toy, but it can reference this book that I'm reading. So that again got things kind of pumped for me, but we haven't. Again, the Netflix show just is sort of rehashing old stuff. So I don't think there's anything going on right now that is igniting the flames of me wanting to go out and get a toy, other than just it's a new toy and it looks kind of neat.
I haven't felt like there's been a new good iteration of Transformers since Prime. You can disagree with me about Cyberverse. That's fine. I know that you like that way more than I do. Or Robots in Disguise. I'm not sure anyone likes that one, but whatever. It's just before, up until Prime, it was like, oh, there's always a new version to get. Like, we got the movies were new, Animated was new, Prime was new, even Armada Energized Cybertron. Although they were connected, they were new and different from each other.
Yeah,
it's just weird now. There's not a lot of. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of innovation going on with changing up the styles of the series. Granted, we've had this classics run going since 2006-ish, and that's incredible. And they're innovating the toys all the time. The things are getting better all the time, and that's why we keep buying them. But it does get kind of samey.
But, I mean, I think that they're doing that across media. I mean, not like Hasbro's not the only one doing that. Like, everybody is kind of going back to the nostalgia roots and, trying to rehash a lot of that stuff. I just think it's a lot safer to do that. And honestly, I mean, people like me are probably more likely to buy that than something new. I mean, as sad as it is.
Yeah, I get that, and at the same time, it's like I feel like the the other things that are think of the toys that are on the same aisle as Transformers. I mean, obviously, I saw like the retro like Ghostbusters line, which from the old cartoon, right? I've seen those on the shelves. But those all were supposed to be attached to a movie coming out, right? Like that's why all that product's on the shelf. Um, they've been doing a lot of the retro like Power Rangers stuff, but there's always a new Power Rangers show. They've been doing retro turtle stuff, but as far as I'm aware, there's like always a new turtle show.
I feel like Power Rangers is just the masterclass of how to continuously regurgitate your same brand over and over again, and yet still get a new crop of fans or your diehard fans still psyched for it.
They have a formula there, yeah. It's like they're always bringing in new and very young fans, but they continue to just keep growing up with it. I mean, freaking, I was there for like the first, Saban's Power Rangers with all the. I mean, I'm a big Green Ranger fan because he basically pilots Godzilla, but it's like, but they keep that up all the way, and I feel like at some point Transformers just forgot how to attract kids to the franchise. But I mean, kids are still there, and it's obviously not dying. I feel like the brand has been really strong since the movies. That first movie really sort of like was the, resuscitated us, brought us back to life. Because I didn't think the Unicron trilogy wasn't bad, but towards the end of Cybertron, you sort of felt like we're starting to thin out a lot. You've definitely felt like maybe this is coming to a head. Like maybe this is the end of the line. And then they're like, give us a minute. Here's this classics line. We'll be back with something that's gonna just, shock us back into being alive. And ever since then, we've been pretty steady as a fandom. Like it's gotten a little smaller maybe, but there's still always new people coming in, like Christian mentioned earlier. I just feel like it's sort of upticked in age. Like I don't know how many. I don't feel like I see a lot of kids going into the Transformers aisle and into the toy aisle and being super excited about Transformers.
That's true of all toys, though, too.
That is true of all toys.
Like
what you do is you as a toy collector have a child and subconsciously train them to get excited for all the stuff that you get excited for, and then you take them to the toy aisle and you can't ever get them to leave.
Yeah, I can't get my kids to be excited about Transformers. I don't know what I did wrong as a parent.
Way to go, Lucas.
I mean,
You're supposed to raise the next
try,
generation.
'cause-
Look what you did.
I mean, I've not been in the position to have the decision to have kids. So, but I've always sort of thought that I might not try too hard, right? Because I would feel like I'm trying to force what I like on them. So did you even try to get them into Transformers, or you were sort of just hoping and they just never latched on?
I mean, it's not something like I'm forcing it down their throat, but
Yeah, no, I didn't read it
like
that
I've
way.
got a lot of toys behind me. You know what I mean? Like it's it's one of those things where pretty much if they wanted a Transformer, I'd buy it. If they wanted something else, like we might have to wait for your birthday, or we have to wait for get some allowance or something like that. But if it's a Transformer, like sure, you can go ahead and have it. So.
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, I've known other fans of the past when they've had kids that were either like gung ho about, oh yeah, I can't wait to show them all my DVDs, and then on the other hand, there was the ones that were like, I'm going to do my best to only let them see this if they ask me about it, right? Because I'm not going to force my interest on them. So there's always that weird, like, two different mindsets. So I was sort of just curious.
I think part of the thing with the Transformers is that my kids, like, watched all of that stuff pretty young. Like, my my oldest like went through all of G1 and Beast Wars, and went on to some of the other ones and whatnot too, and like watched all of it, and then he was done. But like that's kind of like my kids like don't like to watch the same thing over and over again, so they're always watching something new. Like they always have a new interest, and part of it too is obviously like what are their friends into and all that as well, kind of tying back to some of the media and whatnot. So like if Pokemon is the hot thing at school, or, whatever the new Marvel thing is, whatever, like that's what they're going to be into, not, necessarily Transformers, unless there's a movie out.
Yeah, and kids have so much more media to consume than
It's crazy.
Any of us here had when we were that young. Like,
I think
insane.
that what I need is I need Transformers to partner with Fortnite, so that like that would get them interested in Transformers.
Wait for Bumblebee 2 to come out. It'll happen.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
What did I read the other day? A Family Guy Fortnite, collaboration is coming.
Oh, is it?
man.
Is that the next thing? Oh, God.
I thought I saw that today.
Halo one launched last month.
I don't want
Everything
my kids to
collabs
get
with
into
Fortnite.
Family Guy. I don't want them to be interested in that show.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The fatigue is definitely more for me lately than I think I've ever felt it as a fan. And I think part of it is, again, I just need to personally pare back on what I'm buying from all my toy collecting and my comp buying and all that. I think I'll feel better, Christian, like you said.
It's helped. I didn't think it would help this much, so I definitely would recommend it.
Yeah, I think too a little bit of the lack of being able to hang out physically with friends and like, oh shoot, so and so's got a new toy, or like so and so got like a group order of the new masterpiece. We're all going to go to their house and we're all going to open up our masterpieces around the same time. That's been missing with the whole COVID thing. So there's lots of different factors, but it's definitely present. I will say that's probably the line I'm most fatigued about, or actually, I don't know if fatigue is the right word, but like I probably have a half dozen masterpiece or third-party toys that I haven't opened because of the time component. Surge was posting today. He got a new third-party movie, Devastator. It's like, it took me an hour to transform this. It's like, wow, that is.
I don't want things that take an hour to transform.
Yeah. And I think that's sort of the fear factor going into some of these, MPs. Like I just got MPRC, and I'm like, oh, how long is that going to take me to take her out of the box, transform her, figure out a place to put her, all that stuff. Like right now, because I don't really have a place to put her, it's just safer that the toy stays in the box.
Not very long though. She's not overcomplicated.
Yeah. But I mean, there's plenty that are, whether they're masterpiece or third party. There's plenty that are just like you're in for, an evening of like, this is what you're doing.
So, Phil, I know you talk about the fact that you collect a lot of lines, and I know myself, like, I've had to kind of pare back over the years. Like, do you think that you're going to, like, cut out, like, any of the lines that you're currently collecting? Or do you think you're going to keep, doing it and just kind of cherry pick your favorite ones from each one?
I feel like it's going to be a lot more cherry picking. I mean, Marvel Legends, they just announced a new wave this week, and it's like, all right, there's some guys in there. I'm not going to get the whole wave. Some of the new Marvel Legends, the movie stuff, I don't buy almost any Marvel Legends movie toys. So, as we start to get those coming out again, that'll slow down my collecting of that a little bit. But it's also just, Marvel Legends is similar to what it is with Transformers, where it's like, all right, how many Spider-Mans or Captain Americas do you need on a shelf?
Deadpool. We're so bad about Deadpool right now.
Yeah. But I think one of the things that's helped me when it comes to some of my collecting for that is when they come out with a new character. It's like, oh, here's the new, Kamala Khan Captain Marvel, or I'm sorry, Miss Marvel. Like, yeah, I want that toy. It's an awesome character. It's a fun new character, and I want, a plastic representation of that on my shelf. But again, it's just like, they just, did a couple Doctor Dooms, and they just announced another Doctor Doom this week. It's like, I'll pass. I don't need a white Doctor Doom on my shelf. But the Black Silver Surfer, heck yeah, I bought that too. That thing's awesome. It's a Silver Surfer that comes with Mjolnir, and he's black and fights Thanos at the end of time.
I'm thinking about getting that one to go with my Cosmic Ghost Rider. We'll see.
Yeah, because that book was awesome. And again, that's this thing
that
where
book was great.
The toy is neat, but the fiction just so ignites it.
That's true. That book really made me say, I need a Marvel Legends figure of this. And then one came out, and I bought it.
Yep. So, yeah, that's I think what good fiction does to a fan base that might be feeling fatigued.
So Zaldron earlier brought up a good point. I actually think about some of the comics now. Is I feel like the comics now are almost like that dumb show that you put on that you just want to zone out to. Like, it's very easy to read through a bunch of issues of the new comic, whereas I felt like the older comic was so dense with information. It's almost like you had to pay attention panel to panel. And on the new one, I think it's just it's a lot more casual of a read that you can do.
Yeah, it's because and his point I think he was also making was it's easier to binge than to read it month to month. It's sort of like you almost want it to be released like a Netflix show, so that you can just read through all of it. But it's kind of tough for an ongoing sort of thing. You got to wait month to month to get 30 pages. And like you said, I read the first 6. I gave it the old college try. The the 3 anime rule. I gave it the 6 comic book rule. I read the first 6 issues, and it's this just isn't pulling me in.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think I was had faith. Not rewarded, but we had it.
I was feeling jilted that they ended the previous universe, so I was not in a very welcoming place when that book came out. I read the first issue. It wasn't great. I was reading the reviews of subsequent issues that also weren't great, so I'm just I'm glad I did not spend time nor money on continuing that book.
Well, to have the first panel of the first issue have a murdered version of one of the Hallmark characters of the previous universe, that was pretty rude, to say the least.
Yeah, who is one of my all-time favorite Transformers, because I love his alt mode and his robot mode for that matter.
It was felt like it was them saying, yeah, your stuff is really dead, it's never coming back, screw you.
Yeah.
And that's not that you weren't in a welcoming mood. It seems like they weren't in a welcoming mood either.
It could be good now. Who knows? I mean, they're up to I don't know how many issues now. And the current one is in the 20s.
30. I thought they got past 25. 30?
Oh wow!
It's either late 20s or early 30s. I want to say, because I remember reading a review of 25. Some point 2 months back.
Is anyone's? I know Catherine likes it. I'm curious, if it's picked up at all. I don't know. Should maybe go back and see if the new run is any better.
That's one of those things. Maybe I'll give it a chance, because when Humble Bundle has something like that, because Humble Bundle has released several bundles where they basically just gave you everything. So I'm maybe these will pop up in that someday. I'll buy them and I'll read through them but buying them month to month, I ended up just forgetting about them because the last month didn't excite me enough, and then it was just suddenly it's a year later. I'm oh yeah, that was the thing. I forgot to keep buying it.
Yeah, but I guess they're up to issue 27 now in the main comic. So, and it could be us too that, again, since we're all old and have been through the Marvel run, the Dreamwave run, the old IDW run, all that type of thing, that maybe we just have fatigue, over the comics and the shows too, that, we kind of had our favorites before. And so it's just hard to kind of top that. I don't know.
I think that means we're jaded more than fatigued.
Yeah,
I also think it's the same problem that we're talking about with the toys, that the comics are sometimes regurgitating the same stories. Look at the current comic and the Netflix show. it's telling the story of the start of the war on Cybertron, and it's like, how many times have we already heard that story? Is it, you have to do a really good and entertaining job if you're going to tell that story over and over again and make me want to buy it or spend the time on it. So that's where I feel like maybe some of it too is the fatigue of the story that they're telling. I mean, Christian, you said you read the first issue of Beast Wars. One of the big criticisms I heard of that is like, hey, if you liked the first episode of the Beast Wars cartoon, here's a comic book with essentially the same story and a few new characters thrown in.
And I do like Beast Wars a lot.
Yeah.
If they don't have an interesting take on it, then I don't really care.
Yeah.
According to the back of it, like, the author claims that the first few issues are going to feel like the first episodes and that it should diverge from there. But yeah, it was basically, it was the first episode with a little bit of like the Fun Pub pre-Earth stuff thrown in is what it felt like.
That was weird. And Optimus Primal was not there, but Optimus Prime from Animated was there. So that was interesting.
I don't necessarily hate because Animated Prime was based around sort of what Primal was, so it coming full circle and Primal being based on Animated Prime being based on Primal. I found that, like, Inception to be a little interesting, but I mean, I didn't hate it. It didn't get me like super excited, but I didn't hate it either. But I want it to, like, I do want it to go in like interesting, like divergent ways. I don't want it to stick to what I've already seen. And most of all, I do want it to make me want to buy some toys. Like, I don't want to buy a bunch of stuff, but like part of me is like, I kind of hope that maybe Nyx turns out to be an interesting character, and I'll want a Nyx figure because I want something to make me want characters again. The last time I really felt like there was a media that made me want characters was More Than Meets the Eye and Animated, like those things, and Prime. I forget about it. Prime made me want characters too, but I feel like it's been a long time since something like, I need this character because I loved it so much.
Right, you read the issue or you watch the episode and you're like, wow, that character was great. I need to go get them. I haven't felt that in years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if that's maybe one of the problems they're doing too, is that some of the newer medium has too much of an ensemble cast, that they're not giving the characters themselves enough time to have a spotlight and be fleshed out and be something that's interesting. I mean, certainly the Netflix show, none of those, I don't want to even use the word character, because none of those Transformers have any personality or character to them at all. They are so stiff.
I kind of felt that way with the Bumblebee movie, that I actually really liked the characters in that, as just because they had a smaller cast of characters and whatnot. Unfortunately, I could not get the characters at the time the movie came out, so by the time they came out, like, I was kind of over it. But
yeah, you were over it.
Yeah.
I mean, I did want to get a Bumblebee figure. Like, I'm like, I like this movie, but then maybe I'll get the Masterpiece, but then the Masterpiece was just,
yeah,
it's like, maybe not.
Yeah, Hasbro dropped the ball on that movie pretty significantly.
I just don't think they had the confidence. I mean, if you look at the history of the previous movie toy lines, like, they weren't like flying off the shelves like they did for the first movie or for Revenge of the Fallen. Like, it sort of tapered out, and then maybe it was more that retail just didn't want a bunch of it more than it was Hasbro's confidence,
I'm sure it was all across the board.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a while since a Transformer character has jumped out the page at me, but it's like, I just got the MMC Chrome Dome and Rewind, not because I love Chrome Dome and Rewind, but because the characters were great in the IDW book. Yep. And, that's still a shelf that I'm actively adding to and looking to add to, is my More Than Meets the Eye part of my display.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I don't feel fatigue for those toys or those characters. Like, Get Away. Yeah, I'm going to be super psyched to have him on my shelf as soon as he's out there. The new MMC Prime you guys reviewed. I haven't gotten mine yet. That's another toy that I am very excited for.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's funny that I've heard some people say that they don't necessarily care about those characters anymore, but I don't know. Like, I absolutely do. And every time that, MMC releases one of those guys, I'm like, oh man, like it just kind of brings you back to that comic again. So,
yeah.
It also doesn't hurt that the book club is also doing those, that they're in the middle of Dark Cybertron.
How are they handling that? I'm curious. I was curious how they were going to handle Dark Cybertron. Are they reading it as like going back and forth issue to issue as one big thing? Or are they sticking with we're doing all RID and all More Than Meets the Eye?
No, I believe that they're doing it together. So I think they did like the first 3 issues last week, and then I believe they're doing 4 through 6 this week, I believe.
Gotcha.
So Zaldron, correct me if I'm wrong, or Catherine in the chat, but I'm pretty sure that that's what they're doing. So
I apologize for getting off on the side note, but does anyone remember the marketing around Dark Cybertron at the time? I can't remember if it was Hasbro folks or the IDW comic book folks that were talking about you're not going to believe at how well this comic ties into the toy line. And they were really hyping that up, and it was like, here comes Tankor, brand new Tankor in the classic line in the chart.
Because those were the ones that were included as part of the package.
Right. But then they were in the comic as just like, all right, yeah, Tankor was a little bit in the Windblade book and a little bit in Dark Cybertron. I was like, they get like 2 panels. They don't really do anything, but it's like, all right, you tied the toy line and the comic book together. Good for you. But like, come on, that's just a little bit on the pandering side. Or it's like, yeah, we're gonna make G-Axis, instead of making G-Axis look cool, it's like, yeah, we're gonna do a kind of crappy remold of Starscream to make him G-Axis. So I feel slightly bitter about the Dark Cybertron, because that was especially a time where, yes, the toy line and the comic synced up very well, but in a bad way.
I think it was the wrong direction, because it didn't feel like Hasbro was making toys from the comics. It felt like IDW had to write the toys into the comics, right?
Yeah, you're right. I agree.
We want the reason why the third party, like More Than Meets the Eye stuff, is sought after. That people still want all those characters is because they're taking the weird style that was in there. I mean, that style was so like very unique. And they're putting it to action figures, whereas, Hasbro went, here's an action figure, put it in the comic, and no one wanted
you're
that.
absolutely right.
It's sort of like, kind of why I feel like after the initial shock, Animated did so well, because, I mean, obviously it was a really well-written show, but then they took all those really funky styles and turned them into really accurate toys. Like, there were a few kind of stinkers. Sentinel kind of stinks. But most of them were pretty good, and they looked like that weird animated style.
I mean, Animated Blur is still just an amazing toy.
It's great.
Can't see him, but he's right there.
Yeah. I believe you. No, I'm sure he is.
He's a constant staple in my display.
Yeah. No, he's just like your girlfriend that goes to a different school. You wouldn't know her. Dude, I'm teasing. You don't have to go get it. Yeah. No, that's just a phenomenal toy. Phenomenal design and executed
is an amazing toy too.
Prowl. Optimus. I have every version of that animated Voyager Optimus.
Yeah.
Because I mold collect for some reason, and it's fun. But yeah.
Yeah. And again, I think maybe that's what the problem is with Netflix. The Netflix show, it feels like Hasbro said, here are the toys, build a show around the toys versus building a show around characters.
I'm glad you guys brought up Animated just for this moment, because when we were talking about, you haven't felt the need to go get a character of someone, or get a toy of a character you saw in an episode. I was thinking about, how many episodes was Safeguard in animated? 1, 2,
Yeah, he
maybe
was in a
3.
couple.
Not a lot.
It was
Yeah.
the pack-in comic with him was most of his source material.
Yep. But he appeared and he had such an interesting character just then, and I needed to go out and buy him. And I just, maybe it was because I was younger, or maybe it's because the marketing was different, or maybe because they were tied into the when the episode came out, the toy was on shelves. Maybe that was better. I don't know. Maybe it's all those factors. But like Safeguard doesn't make a giant impression on my brain, but I know that when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is really cool. I need to go out and get this figure. And I still have him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really hard to coordinate the toys and the, like the media at the same time. So that's the trouble with that.
Yeah, I mean, to me though, I feel like one of the conclusions we're sort of coming to here is that you need to let the media works best when you have artists and writers and creators making the media first and letting the characters build, become their own thing, and then you can do the toys from that people will be gravitating to. And it's not necessarily going to be the most profitable thing, but if it sounds like too, it's easier maybe and maybe this is where we can get, have Rick's take on this because of his work with Prime, but the idea of keeping that cast small allowed those characters to shine. And then, you got really great representations of characters you really liked from the Transformers Prime cartoon. But the show itself, the fiction itself had really awesome characters that you really wanted to have in your hands.
I feel like they kind of are doing that with like the Cyberverse show, that they have like a certain core cast of characters that they've redone over and over and over again with the toy line, and then to that they just add these like deep cuts,
Yes.
to kind of get us and whatnot. So I mean, I do think that they probably are kind of trying to do that formula.
And that's why I highly encourage Transformers fans to watch season 3 of Cyberverse. And I'm glad they're doing more, and I hope they do more. I mean, you had a whole episode of Cyberverse. You had like 3 really great episodes at the end of Cyberverse. One was about this character Wild Wheel, who was like an Autobot that like fell off the Ark, and he's just been like roaming the universe for like millions of years, becomes a bounty hunter, and he like becomes a Wild West Transformer. It sounds silly, and it kind of is, but it's like he had like legit motivation, and like he ends up becoming a Decepticon because again, like he fell off the Ark and the Autobots never came back for him, and he to survive, he became this just roaming, just hard ass. And it's a kid's cartoon, so it wasn't that much of a hard ass, but that's a character you could do a lot with. Then you had Hammerbite. Hammerbite was, basically a hammerhead shark transformer. So, all right, that's kind of cool. It's like Skybite, but you make him a hammerhead shark and give him like a little crown in his Autobot mode. But like his whole thing was like he was, trying to keep another Titan at bay. Like they tied in the Dweller in the Depths from the G1 cartoon and said that was a Titan that was living under the sea of Cybertron, and that Hammerbite's job was to keep him at bay. And I can't remember the name of this other Transformer, but he was basically like a Steve Irwin Croc Hunter as a Transformer. And like this guy was like this Transformer, this Autobot would like go around like, hey, is this crazy alien? He even had like a stupid, silly outer space Australian accent. But like those characters all got kind of their own episode, and it was those episodes were short to begin with, but it was enough time to kind of flesh them out, make them interesting, do something different that we hadn't seen in Transformers. And I've wanted to grab a few of those toys, and the more they do of that, the more I get sort of like poofs of inspiration. This is going to make me want to go and grab something off the shelf versus there's another Ironhide.
So, I mean, it sounds like they're essentially doing what we're asking them to do. It's just not on the toy lines that we collect, because we're doing the collector's line instead of the, like, kids line. And that, Like, that's the thing, that Cyberverse just isn't quite, going to be something to pull me in. Like, some of the deluxe figures weren't too bad. The articulation with those and whatnot. But yeah, like a lot of the figures they did were just, they're kids' toys, not collectors' toys.
Yeah,
What
and
really
even the
gets-
Rescue Bots and Rescue Bots Academy, I thought did a great job of making those characters entertaining. And my son's got the 4 main Rescue Bot toys, and it's like I have fun just kind of playing around with them when he was younger, especially. He's outgrown them a little bit, but it's like those characters had time to develop, and the creators had time to breathe life into those characters, and you don't have that with, again, some of the media that they're pushing out to our demographic.
What gets me is that they have written at least some story beats for the War for Cybertron toy line. I mean, they have someone who's dedicated to writing all that copy, but now there's no back-in-the-box bios to get it. So, for example, the Botropolis Rescue from the Galactic Odyssey collection that's supposed to come out next month, aka the Skylinks Rescue Pack. Okay, so their brief story from the Amazon listing page, which is not the place to put this, is that Skylinks crash landed on an asteroid inhabited by micromasters called Botropolis, and a team is dispatched from the Ark to go rescue him, and they have to set up a base to do a search and rescue mission. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where is that outside of an Amazon listing page? I mean, that sounds like a compelling episode or comic arc or something. Like, tell me that.
Yeah.
So someone's writing it. They're paying her to write it, and it doesn't go anywhere.
No.
That bugs me a lot.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. And I think what we've seen in previous iterations of the Transform media, you don't need a ton of screen time for some of these characters. How much screen time did the Technobots have in G1? Where they have like 2 episodes?
2, 3, maybe?
Yeah, but those have distinct personalities and characters that I still love those characters for that limited amount of time. So yeah, you don't need much. You just need to do something, and the Netflix show ain't doing it at all.
Nope. Skylinks is some weird shaman who wanted the Matrix and now doesn't. That's no.
Yeah,
Sorry,
but
no.
he's dead now, so who cares?
Yeah, whatever.
And somehow there was an explosion, and they went to this dead universe, and then
Sure.
Optimus Prime willed them out of the dead universe, and it's just
Great.
It's constant Deus Ex Machina in that show.
Well, let's go watch Call of the Primitives again, and you can see Skylinks on display.
Yeah.
It's just it's
No,
weird.
Yeah, and he had personality, he had character.
So let me ask you, like, so we've all kind of talked about the recent fatigue that we've had and whatnot as well. Do you feel like that this is going to stop you from, collecting any of the lines that are coming out, or are you still going to get everything? Or like when Unicron drops on your front step, or is that going to reinvigorate all of us?
I feel fine now. I mentioned that at the top of the show. I feel good now, so no, it does not stop me from going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think Christian, I think you're right. I think I need to pare down what I'm doing to enjoy things a little bit more. And I think I would say that if that would probably help me out, but also I think the idea of having compelling fiction helps a fan base feel passion.
Invested.
I think I'm on, because I'm here on a different level than everybody else. I'm not buying any of the new stuff really, except for the Kingdom stuff, and that I'm buying that stuff because 25-year-old nostalgia, my love for the Beast Wars cartoon. So for me, I mean, I need that something to make me consider. I think I slightly considered buying an Alita 1 because I don't hate her character in the Netflix show. But that's not... I don't hate a character is not compelling enough to maybe... I don't have an Alita 1. And so, the only thing really right now that... there's nothing that's made... Like I said before, there's nothing that's made me really want to buy anything. Really get back into it. Nothing that... Because even if... I'm the type I probably would never start really collecting everything that was coming out again, but I definitely would grasp onto some characters if they were good characters, and then want those characters. And I still haven't felt that way about anything. Elite is the closest one. Like, I have felt like her character's been a halfway decent, story arc, but nothing to really grasp me enough to really make me buy that character.
You gotta get Cog. Cog is the best character in that show.
That is true.
I'll take that back. Scrapface. I mean, we all made the joke, like, why is Scrapface in there? But then he showed up in season 2. He's the wrong colors and everything, but.
And Paul bought so many of those and was just, like, oh, Scrapface, I'm sure he'll be on the show. And then he wasn't. And then he was so excited when he showed up in season 2.
I wanted him to become like a character that I wanted to love, but then he wasn't. He just didn't really stick in.
No.
For very long.
No.
I was like, this is cool. A generic saves the Autobots. Maybe he'll become something special, but
no.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, like, once we kind of get past all of, this huge haul of stuff coming out, I mean, there is going to be a gap in, stuff coming out. And I'm sure that we're all going to be jonesing for the next thing to, to drop, the next wave and whatever, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always
Hasbro, stop issuing. You stop doing toys so close to each other. Tell better stories, and as fans, just chill out a little bit.
Yeah, maybe go back when in the Generations days when you used to retool them into new characters and not just retool them into different forms of the same character.
Yeah, like we'll make Punch Counter Punch a little bit different, blue and yellow.
Because I think that's a big thing. Like, I guess the Dotsons weren't necessarily the same figure, but they felt close enough for everybody that they were like, I just bought all the Dotsons, and you're making me buy the Dotsons again.
Yep.
I'm hopeful that was a, one-time, one-off. They had one plan and they switched to another plan and had to go forward with what they had. I'm hoping that's not the norm. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I got there where they were trying to do it's like, here's all your characters pre-Earth, and then you can have them on Earth.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we still haven't gotten Earth modes of Mirage or Sideswipe, and I would, assume we're going to get those at some point.
Sideswipe is rumored for later this year.
Yeah. So, and then of course we'll get all of the Sideswipe repaints, the Tiger Tracks, the,
We have heard
G2.
that Deep Cover is coming. Pulse said that there's 2 versions of Deep Cover coming this year. But I don't know that they'll do Tiger Track again. Maybe.
I mean, why wouldn't they?
See.
It's just,
Might as well.
Show me some Clampdown.
Yeah.
There you
But
go.
we still don't know why any of the lines are called what they're called. Why? What was the siege? What does Earthrise mean? I mean, I get what it means, but like, where's the journey? Who is the king of the kingdom? Like, what? Where is the king? What is the kingdom? No one knows. I want to know. Tell me.
I don't care.
So I was going to mention Microcasters. We are actually going to be moving to Thursday nights, at least temporarily, like for the next few months, just due to
Lucas, we've been on
scheduling.
Tuesday nights for like 2 years.
I know, right? So yeah,
Except that one time.
it's going to be Thursday nights now at 8:30. So it's going to be the same place on the tfdoc.net Facebook page, but it's going to be Thursday nights, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central instead. So I apologize that there will be no content tomorrow night for people to check out. So.
Paul's been so active in the chat this week. I don't know why he can't do an oof.
I know, right? Might as well just do your oof from the hospital,
Yeah.
right?
Seriously, come on, man. Don't tell us you don't have time for this stuff and then spend an hour in the chat.
So that is absolutely true. So yeah, the oof is we're still trying to figure out exactly, when we're gonna do it and all that type of thing. So we're trying to figure that out. So hopefully we'll have something here in a couple weeks. But the last episode last week was like 2.5 hours long or something. So you can break that up and watch that over a few weeks.
Every time he was like, one more round, I saw Anna die a little more inside. She's like, I want food. I told you beforehand I haven't eaten.
But it was like, you could tell she was like, but I have another cool, funny little toy I can show.
She's like,
yeah.
The split in priorities there, man.
Yeah, that's almost just like, all right, I just went someone else's round. I'm going to turn off my camera and go eat for 5 minutes and then come back. So, or like Rick and just eat during the middle of it,
Exactly. So say, I think Sean has done that on the show as well. So it's like, just make sure you mute your mic if you're going to eat on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, so anyway, but yeah, so that should be fun, and I think we're officially moving. Cut the Tape is going to be Saturdays now because Rook sends me the show too late for me to edit down. So we'll just call that Saturdays now at this point. So, but yeah. So anyway, so sorry for not being on tomorrow night, but Thursday night.
Who are you guys reviewing on Microcasters this week?
Did we figure out who we're doing?
I don't think we've figured it out yet.
Okay.
We've got a lot of Studio Series 86, so probably something.
Probably
of
be
that,
something there.
I believe. So
I've been tinkering with these the new Micromasters set that just came from Amazon with the mask guys and a few of the other G1 redos, and like this is a fun set, so I do like that one.
have you shared any of those with your kids?
Yes, yeah, I've let my son play with the Micromasters. That's something that he's been clamoring for me for this winter for us to rebuild our big Transformer base, and I keep telling him I gotta wait till he gets Scorponok, but that's probably not going to come till the summer, so I'm just going to have to hunker down and build the Transformer base with him. And I've got a lot of Micromasters to run around in there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because that's where I feel like it's the most fun, is like setting up a whole base and letting him play with that. So.
Oh yeah. The only downside is now we got a 1-year-old that might try to eat one of them, and that's problematic.
Yeah. Just make sure and keep the headmasters away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he wants to do his impression of Unicron.
Those definitely would have been. I mean, those were those all sort of had the same play pattern that, like, I used to talk about it a lot. Like, I think the most fun I ever had playing with toys, playing with my Transformers, was during the Armada. Was just because they weren't hard to transform, and two, like, especially the Optimus Prime's base with all the minicons. The Titans plus the Micromasters, you have that 10 times what that was. That would have been a blast.
Yeah, it's a good time with the whole living room just sprawling of bases, and now you've got all the little mini ones that they've done. So yeah, I gotta set that all up. I haven't set that up in at least a year.
Definitely show us when you do.
I will. I'll probably have to do it in his bedroom. Gotta have him pick up all his Legos.
Then have him step on Micromasters.
I don't know if a Lego or Micromaster hurts worse, to be honest.
At least the Lego's designed to break apart.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, thank you guys for joining me tonight. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Ron, Zaldron, Catherine, Sportimus, let's see, Paul, of course, Enots, Bloodstorm.
That's me.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Who else? I know I'm missing somebody. There's a couple people earlier that commented. There was a Rich, earlier. Mike T. So yeah, Jay Holla. It was earlier. Jay Zachary. So thanks guys. I appreciate you guys contributing in the chat. It's a lot of fun. Hopefully our chat helped you out, and we went off topic quite a bit, but hey, that's what we do. So anyway, all right. Well, thanks guys, and we will see you next week.